before we get into this, these guys are all very genuine individuals. They're very real, and their experiences are real. So as we dive into these topics, want you guys to remember, and I want to reiterate again, that we are all human and we are not above experiences in life. It's just a matter of what we do with them, right? So what I want to talk to you guys today, and what our panel is about, is a temperature in DC right now on violent crimes. I don't know if anybody has paid attention to specifically violent crimes right now, because we're so heavily involved in COVID-19 and we're watching this pandemic around us. But if you've looked at any point at our numbers, DC in the past year, just 1 year alone, with singular homicides with guns involved, we've increased 22%. Last night, when I checked the numbers and I made a post, the numbers were 179. This morning, when you check the website again, you'll see that the number has gone up again to 180. And that's in less than 24 hours that number has changed. So we're in a situation right now where, whether we know it or not, whether we're fully aware of it or not, people are dying around us, and it's not from natural causes. A lot of times when we're younger, we think one day we'll lose people because we'll get old. Well, in my reality and in my generation, people aren't getting old anymore. People are being exposed to violent crimes, to severe amounts of conflict that end up with less homies around. And that's why I want to have this conversation, to see how and what we can do, or is there anything we can do to be able to keep more homies around? So with that being said, my first question is, in what way has gun violence affected your life, the lives of someone around you, the lives of someone near to you? It doesn't have to immediately be you. I know sometimes gun violence or violent crime, the two are not the same, but often two somehow merge over into the other when it becomes majorities rule. How has that affected you in your world? I see hands. I'm gonna go ahead and let Grady have this one. Let's go ahead, Grady.
Will, I've been waiting for this for so long, because I just remember being a kid, and the exact age, 12, 13, that year for men, like, you just want to play sports. But then, like, when you at school, it's different. But when you have to go home, public transportation, then your neighborhood. So back to your question, how it affect me, it changed my whole life. Because, okay, you go from trying to play sports at 12, 13, one more year, if not that same year, now you have to carry a gun to be safe. You have to carry a gun outside because everybody else around you has guns. And I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. You know what I mean? Like, look at how many people we know that got killed at such a young age, because whether it was meant for them, not meant for them, doesn't matter, because the same thing happened. So my take on it is, sometimes you just grow with your environment, and you just become a product of your environment, even if you want to. I mean, if you don't want to, you know what I mean? So it's just really sticky. So it to me, my answer is, it changed my whole life. It changed my whole outlook on life. So that's just my take. That's just a little bit of it to let everybody.
I feel that, Grady. I appreciate that. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
On that note, for you specifically, I know you talked about being like 13, 14, having dreams of working on sports and doing these. Or I don't know if you were talking about you, if that was an example.
Yeah, I'm talking about just me. Like, I wanted to play basketball, and that was my life. And then it's like, okay, you're thinking about sports, but the kids that you might not know, or the older dudes, they not thinking about sports, and they don't spare kids anymore. Like, at a certain age, they look at you as a grown man, whether you think you are or not. So in DC, because that's where I grew up, you grow up so much faster. Things move so much faster here. So and I know everybody else, especially I see a lot of young men, women too. Y'all know here it's way faster. Yeah, we're not a big city, but y'all know what I mean.
I feel you on that. I'm gonna let Babaherb. Is your hand up? Did you want to chime in?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, gun violence. Well, let me say, violence has played, I guess, a big role in shaping. I guess, like, in its violence and its effects has played like a big role in shaping what I place value on, like in terms of how I operate in spaces. I don't want to be seen as a destructive force, or like a
Mm,
or like I don't know, just like I'm gonna blow up at any time. But I feel like when I'm walking down the street or when I'm on the train, with, like you said, this fast-paced city, there's a whole bunch of cultures represented in this city too. But all of them, when they see somebody that looks like me or somebody that might look like other people on the panel, they
mm,
might have a violent reaction on the inside as well. And so I just wanted to kind of like articulate, or I guess like shine light on the fact that violence um, can be like a way of thinking too, like, or
mm,
like a way that you're pressured into thinking rather. And so being from Anacostia for myself, um, like gun or the idea of guns or like the allure of um, street science, you feel me, was like
mm,
around me. However, I wasn't really aware of it outside of like being afraid, is that firecrackers or is that a gunshot, and then learning the difference when I was like real young. I was like 6 and 7, learning the difference. And I was like, all right, I guess this is kind of just normal. Like people just be shooting. And then as I got older, I saw more things. I myself was robbed when I was in
mm,
college at Morehouse, um, which was like super scary, but also like humbling. I'm still here, so give thanks. But uh, yeah, for me to say, I just want to circle it back. I could talk a lot about how gun violence has played a part, in the DC culture, but I guess at the end of the day, it's shining light to how prevalent violence is and like how we shape people around us, who gets to be what lives get to be valued and what communities get to be supported. Um, it goes a lot. I think that the people who that's a lot of violence going on there as well, and so
mm.
um, it's the catch-22 for sure.
I really appreciate you for sharing that,
But
Ayinde.
yeah, I
Babaherb.
don't want to rap off too long. Don't want to
No,
rap
you're
too long.
fine. You're fine.
You can
Rap
call me
away.
Ayende. It's all good.
I,
Yeah.
I want to
I mean, I'm
respect all
not.
the artists because y'all are, you got claim to your brands. You worked hard for them, okay? So I'm gonna honor that, but I'm gonna also
Yeah.
honor who you are here. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so I think I saw One Great Bastard put his up, and then we're gonna go swoop around. We're gonna go One Great Bastard, Sam, and then we'll hit Reek. Sound good?
That's fine with me. I think if I could speak really quickly, I remember to speak to what Grady was talking about. It's crazy that you named the age like 13 or 14 because my first experience with like losing somebody to gun violence or losing someone in your community or somebody that you know was at that age. I lost a classmate. We were going from 8th grade to 9th grade year, and he was at a party. You know what I'm saying? And they just got to shoot at the party, and I guess he got caught in the crossfire. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And that was, I think that was the first time where my school, one, it was the first death at my school, and my school had been open for, my middle school, Isaac J. Gordine, they had been open for like at least 10, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of shell shocking for them. But for me, I knew at that point, you know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, like this is what it can lead to if you choose to get involved with certain things, you know? And that was my thinking at the time. And what I've learned over the years is that like that in itself is ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Like violence is so prevalent right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the temperature on violence is so high right now. I feel like there aren't many things that are needed to trigger it anymore. And nowadays for me it shows up in my work where I can't work with more than 2 or 3 young people, specifically young men. It's a lot of violence being perpetuated. Not to say that young ladies don't experience it as well, But in my personal experience, my young men have just been more comfortable opening up about some of what they've gone through.
Mhm.
I remember having a student really quickly. I don't want to take up too much
Don't
time, but
apologize. It's your life.
I had a student, Onassis. I'll never forget this. He was at McKinley Tech, and he was telling me how his entire family had to relocate because of a hate crime that had been committed. Basically, there was a Muslim man. He is a Muslim identifying uh, person, and so is his family. And there was a person that was murdered in the street right by New York Avenue, right by the uh, right right off of where that hotel is, where that big hotel is off of New York Avenue. And he had to relocate. Him and his whole family had to relocate because DC was like, it's a hate crime. Yeah, I gotta, if you stay here, it's dangerous. We don't know who did it. We can't protect you. You have to go. And I'm just thinking how crazy it is that people's lives get uprooted like that every day in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
I appreciate you for sharing that. Like, there is crazy. It's amazing how someone can decide, as if our small decisions even really mean anything in the larger scope of the whole wide world. Sam, did you want to pick up on that question as well?
Yeah. I would like to just really quickly just add, on top of what Grady was saying too, like growing up, taking public transportation, I was always told by everybody, watch out, don't keep your phone out for too long. Back when we had the iPods and stuff, you know what I mean? Like keep those tight. Like kids I went to school with, everyone was telling me how they got robbed. So I'm always like, oh, okay, these are the methods, you know what I mean? Let me not, when the doors are about to close, let me put my phone in my pocket, like stuff like that. But it kind of works against you too, because then I'm walking around in my head waiting for something to happen, as opposed to just walking peacefully. Minding
In
my
faith, yeah.
You're like turning a corner, especially if it's dark, and you're like, anything could be behind this corner. And like every news is telling you things, parents, friends telling you all this stuff. So you're like, oh, I gotta just be prepared for anything at any time. So I mean, it's something that you hold in your chest, and I think we're not taught how to release that either. So yeah, I think it affects all of us, even if we don't even like, I've down the street from me in either direction, there've been shootouts, but I'm blessed to not have anyone personally in my life that has been, killed or anything by gun violence in the city. So just, that's just my 2 cents. We got to unpack all of that, even if it's not something that can directly, you can like have ties to. It affects us and on a spiritual level.
Definitely. I vibe with that. There are a lot of you guys that talked about like the metro specifically. My mother never let me take the metro. Like Tacoma was off limits. I never knew DC outside of 16th Street, like where Colorado Avenue and Carter Barron was. Like that was my whole world, like between Coolidge High School and Carter Barron. Like that was my life. Anywhere else I had to go, I had to be in a car. I could not be on the street. And now as a performer, I walk, I do my own thing, and they hate me. And I'm learning new things about the city. There are parts of, I'd never seen Kennedy Street, First and Kennedy Street, and I've got to experience that, but that's real. That's a part of, experiencing DC from, your respective space.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, definitely hear you.
Okay.
My G heard you too. I think she heard you.
Okay. Yeah. So, man, y'all all gave amazing answers. I know we're not finished, but that's amazing, bro. Like, especially what y'all touched on. Yeah, I remember those ages. And DC goes through a lot of trends. Like, if y'all remember, robbing people for their phone pauses was a trend. Robbing people for their Helly Hansen, for their Jordans. So, like, we're so small that it's just like the violence, it spreads like a cancer almost, just because it's just like, it's trending. So what Sam said, like, you're walking around waiting for something to happen. And a lot of people on the other end are waiting to do something, but I'm gonna let everybody finish. Y'all are all amazing.
This is a wonderful, I love this. I love what's happening already. I appreciate you, Grady. I appreciate you, Sam, Babaherb, OGB, everybody for sharing so far. I want to get Reek in on this also, so I can move on to the next question.
The question is, how is, violence really affected our lives? It's like, I get punished for what someone else does. You get punished for what someone who looks like you, or like, I heard earlier, I was watching a show, the dude said there's heritage privilege. You get punished for your heritage. It's not your fault. And Asia knows, I lost my little brother back in July, and he's not really he's not the typical guy that most people would think. Like, he's like the nicest person in the world. So it's like losing 13 people and 8 of them to gun violence in 1 year, and we're not even, 2020 isn't even over. It's crazy, because it's like you walk around and you just feel like every day you wake up, it's like, am I next? Because there's so much going on around you. You think like, is it going to be a straight bullet, or is it going to be someone who wants to just feed their family because COVID is messing them up, and I just have the resources that they need? And you just really think like, damn, like the world is really messed up. Like DC is messed up. Like, I could be walking down the street and I can get stopped by the police because someone just shot somebody 2 streets over, and they just gave a description that was so vague that everybody's a suspect, and that brings out a lot of our violent natures, because we don't like being accused of stuff that we're not really doing, but because we look the part, we have to be a part, and it's really messed up, because it's no way to avoid what we're going through, because we didn't choose to be born Black or born where we were born. We didn't choose to be born in DC, so we get punished a lot because of something we didn't choose. We didn't choose to be born in this heritage. Even people like Sam, like I have friends that look just like Sam that told me exactly the same thing. Oh, people say don't go here, don't go over here. Oh, they said people who look like you just want to take my shoes, or they want to rob me from my phone, and I'm like, that's crazy, because a lot of us don't even really think like that. But because the 10% of us really do think like that, the rest of us get punished for it, And I have a really unique perspective on this, because me personally, I've never shot anybody, but I've seen it like since the 4th grade, 4th grade, little girl gets shot by a stray bullet. We're in the class together. We just see this girl. So we come back to school on Monday, and they're like, well, yeah, Kayla's dead. She caught a stray bullet in her grandmother's house because somebody else was shooting at somebody else. And they didn't even hit them. They just hit her. And I'm like, that's crazy, because as a kid, we were thinking about Game Boys and Pokemon, and we wasn't really focused on, oh, I'm gonna beat this guy up, or we got like brother said, we try and play sports and stuff like that. We got real dreams and aspirations, but you realize quickly in the hood that you don't really have that many opportunities coming out because of where you're born. Like, you didn't choose this, but because this is where you were born and this is how you were born, your limitations come down a lot. Like it's scary, because it's like you could be walking home and you could just catch a stray bullet, or you don't have to do anything wrong to be the next victim. You don't have to do anything wrong. You could be completely right. You could be holding your daughter in your arms. You could be walking your nephew to school. You could be walking to give a homicide $1, and someone just walks up and stabs you. And it's like, it's crazy, because it's like, I've been thinking a lot this year, because 13 people is a lot of people. That's not like a small amount. Like, and it's crazy, because it's like, it makes you think like, what is the world trying to really teach us? Like, like, what can we take away from losing people that we love, or people that we see every day, people that we hug? We tell these people we love them every day. every time we see him, it's always good vibes, smiles, you know, and it's not a lot that we can really take away from losing somebody that we really love, you know. And it's just crazy because it's like you just gotta we gotta love each other while we're all here because we don't know.
Bro, I'm not trying to cut you off, but can I say something to you?
Yes,
Yeah.
please speak to each other.
I don't know you from Adam or Eve, bro. Like, I've never seen you before. I lost a lot of people too. So let me be the first to say, God bless you, brother. You're a strong man, bro. So whether I just met you just now or the last time we set this up, but God bless you, bro. I hear the pain in your voice, man, and God bless all y'all. But you know, like, I condone you, brother, for keep going and keep going strong. You just said holding your daughter in your arms. I just had a daughter, so I know. You know what I mean? And then when I was saying about being 13 years old, playing sports, and now you in the guns, you didn't get in the guns for choice. You got in the guns because you want to make it home. So I condone you. I condone all of y'all. Like, you know, so I just want to say that. But you finished. I just want to say that before I forget it, though. God bless you, bro. Sorry for all your losses, too. You know.
Yes, definitely. Like, I feel that.
Thank you,
Yes, Reek. I
man. You know,
appreciate you so much for your
that day,
transparency.
man. Can't let it get to you.
I realize for like a lot of us, some of our loss, some of our grief is fresh, you know, and I think like there's no time like the present to figure it out. I think Reek, you spoke to like the reality, like what do you do? Like what does it even mean when we lose people? You know, after someone's gone, they live their life. Like what lesson am I supposed to take from that? You know, I really feel that. I really, really, really feel that. I appreciate you for sharing and diving into that with us. I want to ask you guys, and a lot of you already touched on it, about a difference you've seen in DC. Think of your lives, like think of your neighborhoods. And Sam, you come from Northeast. Grady, you're uptown. OGB is like a DMV adopted native. He's Maryland, but he's uptown, Northeast, Southwest, wherever he goes, that's what he does. I know Babaherb is Southside, and I want to speak to this specifically from where you are and what your scope is on DC. What have you honestly noticed change? Like even if there's been violence, even if it was always like that, I don't know if it was always like that. You know, I don't know if there was a moment where, you know, it wasn't so bad. I think back to elementary school where we had the DC sniper and we were all like going through that, you know, gun shooting protocol for in elementary school. And but what has the change been, you know, in 10 years, if you can mark it? I know a lot of us are 25, so it's almost about that, you know, time gap between when you were like 15 and when you were 25 or when you're 24, 23. What have you seen change in specifically violent crime, police presence, or community response to violent crime? And I think I saw Sam put his hand up, and I saw OGB. So I'll go Sam and then OGB.
Word. Yeah. I think one of the biggest changes that I noticed in the city was when I went to college down in New Orleans, and just coming back after the very first year, it was like I barely recognized my neighborhood. I'm in between Michigan Park and Brooklyn. You know, they built these huge buildings in Brooklyn now. There's like a whole new. I honestly can't even remember what it used to look like at this point. That's kind of where it's at. And I see police everywhere now. I mean, it was already kind of like every other corner, there's some blue lights somewhere. But now it's literally like everywhere. Like there's 3 cop cars always posted down the street at Turkey Thicket in some form or fashion. And it makes me always look out for unmarked cars too and stuff. Like I'm always looking at license plates, tire, you know what I mean? Just like the little indicators and stuff like that. Just gentrification is crazy. But just that, like the whole the cityscape has changed. I feel like that's brought more violence. Like you bring in people who have no idea where they're even moving into, the history of those places. They can afford $4,000 a month for like a single bedroom, which is ridiculous. And how do you expect there to not be crime when you're displacing the people who used to live there? And everyone around there is looking at these buildings like, well, who the fuck are you? No, I'm sorry for cursing.
No. If it's an honest, like if you mean it, say it. You know, again, I'm not gonna police your passion.
I talked to myself before, and I was like, yo, we can't. I gotta.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Hey, stay true.
But
stay
yeah,
true.
it's drastic. Yeah, and honestly, like every time I came home from college, it broke my heart a little bit because it was just like, I don't know where I'm at anymore. I don't know what to do. Like, you know, like it's a whole new cityscape and a whole new frontier of people too to interact with. And it's like now when I meet somebody, it's like a 30% chance that they're actually from DC.
Say that twice.
Hey, shout out to the little one. Hey.
Oh, look at her.
Yeah. She look a little tomboy. She going through a lot right now.
Look, she working on it. Okay.
Yeah. I don't. But
look at sweet pie. She is so precious, Grady.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
What's that?
Hi.
Got the little spikes.
She's like, hold up. Who are all these people? Hold up, Dad. No, I really appreciate you speaking to like the gentrification aspect. I've noticed, but I've always wondered, like, I know that fear, begets more violence, begets anger, and all the other things and nuances of miscommunication, you know, genuine miscommunication. But I just wondered, like, you know, for us, like, what does that even look like, you know, for us, you know, like, what kind of things? I know for OGB, he kind of went through this with me because I had to phone a friend. OGB is life partner, ride or die of life, okay? Because we over on 16th Street had a break-in of 7 cars in our neighborhood. And they attempted to do some home invasion. Like a couple of people's screens got kicked in and people's windows were broken. These are people just joyriding through our neighborhood. And for a long time, I thought 16th Street was like the safe zone. Like, I feel like for DC, that's where we kind of, you know, put all of our loved ones. I don't know. That's how they ended up.
I agree. But I feel like y'all are targeted as well.
Yeah.
Just because people know, like, okay, I'm tired of robbing people just like me. I'm about to go take from the people that have it.
And I wonder, and that's why I like to ask this question. What have you noticed in the difference and play around with that concept? Do you see what people, has their need changed? Has the urgency, the demand changed? And I'm gonna let this go over to OGB because he's been waiting to get that out.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, as someone who's working with young people, the one thing I noticed is that they need it a lot more now. Like, I mean, like parents, I don't know what's changed from like the last generation to like this generation, but like kids just go around not having, and like the means that they're going about to getting these things are like unbelievably, like the levels that they're going to get these things are unbelievably crazy. The other thing that I was going to say really quickly is that kids with technology nowadays have access to a lot. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is that, like, I had a kid who I was leading a conversation. I was leading a community conversation on ways to improve the community. You know, like where basically, you know, I was asking the students to tell me, you know, is it easy or hard to get certain things into the community? Like, is it easy or hard to get drugs and certain things into your community? These are 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders. I had a 6th grade student stand up and he was like, I could tell you where the Zans are, the lean, the herb, the drugs. He's now mind you,
unheard of. We were kids.
Now again, 10 years ago that would be crazy. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays that's a lot more common, where like kids just have access to everything, to weapons, to drugs, and the need for it is now at an all-time high. That's the other thing, is that like parents just don't have it anymore. The city's taxing unbelievably. Like the city's taxing on everything right now. You know what I'm saying? And so because of that, they're going out to get it themselves. They're not waiting on mom and dad to get it for them anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're going up, loading up, and trying to get it themselves.
Straight up. I feel that. That has changed a lot. Wow.
But
Middle schoolers. I'm sorry. Go ahead, y'all. Oh, I don't know if that was that Babaherb next or was that Reek.
yeah.
Let's go,
Well, I
Babaherb.
don't know. I was just gonna just kind of piggyback off of where OGB was talking about with the access to information. It's like I feel like there's always been um, an innate drive or at least curiosity for like how far you can go or like what type of capacity can you put yourself under in terms of like information or like yo when you're like 10 or 11 you're like yo what's the adult activity and how can I be as aware of it as possible and immerse myself in it as possible. And so I know that there's like a genuine interest of like adolescents is trying to like see what adulthood is. But going back to like when violence characterizes like anything you put a value on, it's like looking at a young person's eyes, it's like they're gonna go down the rabbit hole as far as they can, and like the opportunity to wild out right now in the city is crazy. There's so many feds everywhere. Want to piggyback on that too, but also the just like energy of the youth right now is like very spontaneous. It's like day by day. It's understanding that it's independent. You know what I mean? It's free thinking, and it's like it's difficult to really like direct. You know what I mean? Or like
I think we may have lost Babaherb, if only for a moment. That's what happens when you have power in your words. The frequencies start messing up.
They say you getting too real.
We've gotten too real, too real. Babaherb's back. I think you're back. Are you back?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we are.
My bad. Yeah, so my phone died, so I had my laptop on standby. I mean, but all I was really saying though was essentially the young people need inspiration and a natural like an inner motivation, but only that inner motivation comes from when people or at least in my experience when I talk to my students, it comes from treating them like their minds are mature, even if they have different ways of thinking or but it's like Grady said, man, you'd be surprised how confident and decisive young people can be if you just empower them and empower their minds. And like yeah, in DC we be growing up super fast, and it's like I just wanted to celebrate and take a moment kind of to celebrate the at least the autonomy that we have in the city. Um, yeah. Not to rap too much on that, but like yeah,
Rough away.
DC talk about how much it's changed. Like I don't know if it's specifically my neighborhood, um, Southeast, like Garfield. It's like or Hillcrest, whatever they call it, man. The 23rd and Irving is where I'm at, and so apparently, Hartford, yeah. So behind me is like you know what I mean this notorious area supposedly, and so like there's more fit. Like when I was growing up, it was kind of just like the community ran it, but now it's patrolled by X number of police SUVs. There's like a bunch of patrols happening. People coming by my house, and things of that nature. But to be honest, it's not like up here. In Michigan Parkside where I'll see people of all walks of life taking their dogs out um, for strolls. There's Starbucks around here. There's like different art places outside of Anacostia Art Center. There's no real place like that east of the river for me. In the best of my knowledge, there's nothing really doing um, putting on for like black entrepreneurism and local thought like intentionally. That's not really going on like that over east of the river, um, like it is out here. But just out here is more of a gentrified view. So I don't know what to say. I mean, 10 years ago, I wasn't really recognizing my city either. Like
That's real.
it was already rapidly changing. So I feel like my whole life, I've seen like DC transformation, you know,
Mm.
from whatever it was before I came into the earth. You feel me? Like the legends of like Go-Go, and it's, to me, it's like legends and mythical.
Yeah.
Like when I was coming up, you know what I mean? The most DC is like the Big Chair, the 92,
Mm-hmm.
was any church, fam. You
Wow.
feel me? Like these are, I guess, some of the things that I think about when I think about the district. Um,
Yeah, the 92 is legendary.
yeah,
These
shout
are
out to
things I've
92.
only
That joint gets me everywhere.
straight up. These are things I've only heard great things of. Like I feel like I've
Yeah,
never got to see, and I feel like you saying like it's like an urban legend, like the myths of DC, of bohemian taverns back
yeah,
when there was real jazz music
right.
and real, you know, performing
Or like,
happening. Or
or even like what's his name, Marion Barry, and
oh
like
my gosh,
mayors that actually had invested interest in the city and in the people in it. I know we probably want to talk about this later,
you're gonna tear in.
but
You ready? You ready? I
Mel
know you're ready.
Bowser mode, that's not my walk.
It's not
That
our
is
bad.
not my mask. That is not my mask.
I feel that.
We're gonna definitely get into that later, I guess. But like, I'm just saying, what she was on, I just can't not say this right now, fam.
Say it, speak.
She's definitely wild for like understanding that we had, what do they call them, Bammers, the Proud Boys.
Mm.
We was
The
gonna have like, she knew that we was gonna have people intentionally trying to disrupt the peace or like in any shape or form, and then like chose not to act. But then we got families just cooling in their crib, and then they need to get patrolled on a nightly basis.
mm-hmm.
They need to get questioned to go into their house. They need to be, I mean, but then again, it's like, I don't know, my man's friend is like, his father is like a police officer. It's like, I feel you, in terms of like wanting that role to be present, but I feel like as a community, we have to be more knowledgeable about what sparks violence in our in the community, and really be tapped in so that we can bring forth that inner motivation I was talking about, and that just that natural when you inspire people to like do something within themselves to change the environment. Um, that only happens from community. You know, there's been no police officer who's made me want to be a better person or like check my check my BS. You know, that comes from the community, and it comes from me seeing it as a tangible option. Can't just be told that this is what good people do, and so I'm gonna do it. You know,
Personal experience plays a big role in that. You know, I appreciate you. You're right on it. That's our next question, but I want to hit up Reek and see what he has to say about the change, and see, because I'm right there with Muriel Bowser. She could be better. I'm gonna say that. Go ahead, Reek. What did you want to add? Maybe okay. Reek will come back and.
But all I wanted to say on that real quick is that the change that I seen, like, okay, people have always had kids young, but now babies are having babies, so it's a lack of guidance. So when y'all say like, okay, kids are more accessible to these type of things, it's because their parents, their kids as well. So they're growing up under these type of things, and it's like it's natural, it's normal now, it's the norm. So that's why the kids are more accessible, because you know it's just it's a cycle of misguidance, and it sucks, but that's you know that's just what
That's the
that's how I'm
reality.
living right now. So
It's like the parents are learning, the kids are learning as the parents are learning almost, you know,
but
it's like they're learning together
if
sometimes.
your parent hasn't really learned or experienced a certain thing, the kids are gonna, you know, get what the parents had as well. So it's steps to it. Like you said, your mother picked you up. That's amazing. That's amazing. But it's steps. You know what I mean? So that's all.
Steps and sacrifices. No, you're right. I feel all that, Grady. Yes, 1,000 times. People have to learn how
when
to
y'all
take.
see kids, right? When y'all see, like, if you notice, kids that do certain things now are getting younger and younger, because it's like it's the norm for them. So it's like if a kid is 11 years old, he sees his 13-year-old brother with a gun. And he's like, oh, bro, I got to get a gun. My brother has a gun. I need a gun. My brother's having sex. I need to have sex. Like, it's just the norm. Like, my brother smokes. I need to smoke. Like, but that's just the, now it's just a cycle that
You learn
needs
from
to
where you
end.
can.
Exactly. It's just a cycle that needs to end. It's just a big loop of. We're not gonna get into all that, but
we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We got more questions to go.
Yeah,
Hey, Reek, are you there? Are you with us?
Yeah, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Reek.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't know why. Like, I was in here before and you guys couldn't hear me, but as far as the title of your question, Asia, as far as like the change, anybody who knows me knows I'm not ashamed of anything I've been through. I've been homeless for like years on years, like like and like a very long time. And to be honest, from me being a kid to now, it's the parents, to be honest, because I've been outside and like since I've been battling homelessness since I've been about 18, 19, and these kids are outside and they're like 13 years old. And I'm like asking them, like, why are you, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Why are you outside? Like, don't you got school tomorrow? And they're like, I can't go home. My mom won't let me go home. Like it's like their home life is so bad that they don't want to be there. And it's like, I know that feeling, because like, I'm not going to bash my parents. My mom did the best she could, but sometimes I felt like how they felt, I wanted to leave. I wanted to go. And it's not to say that, people are bad parents or anything like that, but like I think that was it's either Grady or OneGreatBastard that said it, getting access to things. They're doing what they have to do to get access to them. A lot of them don't have school clothes, so they're going to the mall and they're like stealing clothes. So they're learning these skills to survive. And it's crazy because the parents should be the ones that should be helping them, but the parents can't help them only because they don't have their own resources to help these kids. And a lot of these parents are taking it out on these kids because because they can't do it, and it's crazy because like I don't know if anybody's ever like really sat and paid attention to it, but there's like a massive amount of missing kids. And guess where they are? They're in the streets. They're in the streets. Yeah. To be honest, they're in the streets. They're going up galleries selling clothes. They're buying drugs. Like I said, like they're so easy to get that like these guys have phones full of drug dealers, like, and they're like 13 years old. They're like calling people like, hey, I want a Percocet. And I'm like, that's crazy because I just had a friend overdose on Percocets, and it's crazy because it's like in all aspects of life, it's like these kids aren't being monitored or parented by their own parents, and it's the craziest thing because a lot of my students, as far as dancing, like I'm trying to get them out of the streets. Like a lot of them only really be going home because I tell them, I won't teach you unless you go home or you go to school or you got to show me your report card and show me that you're really out here trying to do it better than me, like I want the kids to be better than me because they're coming up in a world that's so harsh that it's like they're really just trying to survive. Like it really looks like we're after the apocalypse,
Yeah,
like after the rapture or something. Like we're living in a wasteland and they're just surviving.
Grady, did you want to add something?
No, I was just talking to him. You had lagged out, bro, but like everything you saying, I was telling you, bro, like babies having babies. And that's why it's like that because their parents had guidance. So it's like when they have a child, it's just an ongoing cycle. So yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons, bro. Like that's definitely one of the reasons.
Yeah. That's real. I heard a lot of different things that you guys said. I'm sorry, Reek, am I cutting you off right now? Because you're like,
Now you can say what you gotta say.
No,
I'll
I was gonna
continue after.
say y'all were picking up a lot of different nuances of parenting causing like inadverse effects on like how we operate as a community, which causes like heavier amounts of policing in a place that's already going to be heavily policed. And that's just what I'm hearing, and I'm wondering if you guys think like that is the connection, or if there's something, you know, maybe I or like a lot of people aren't understanding about that connection.
What
Yeah,
connect?
about to say for me personally, it's the generational gap, because we have to remember that it's like our generation, a lot of our parents were locked up when we were coming up, and we're raising our younger siblings off of something we don't even know about, because they're seeing how we're surviving, so they're surviving the same way. So it's like we're trying to build, we're trying to be parents as kids, like bro was saying, like it's babies having babies, but sometimes it's not even our child, sometimes it's our little brother. We're doing what we gotta do to feed our little brother, because our mom is so high on all these pills, or she's so high because she didn't shut up, that she not feeding us, or you know, we starving for days at a time. And you know, like it's hard to watch your mother like that a lot of times, because you know, like I have a student right now. He's 11 years old, and like some nights he'll call me crying and be like, my stomach hurts, and I'd be like, where's your mom? And like he'll show me, and she'll just be so high off like oxycodone and Adderalls that she'll forget to feed him. You know, it's crazy. It's just really crazy, because it's like this is the reality of the world that we're living in. Because when I was a kid, like don't get me wrong, we didn't have the best come up, but I would rarely see someone who's 16 years old taking care of a 13-year-old. You know, it's like it's so crazy to me, because like in my years of being homeless, I'm 26 now, and like I said, I've been battling homelessness since I've been about 19. Like luckily now I'm good, but in the years that I was out there, I'm seeing people that are 13, 14, and they're like, yeah, my mom just kicked me out, and I'm like, wait, why did she kick you out? And it's like, and a lot of them is either they're getting kicked out, they're not listening to their parents, and it's like it's crazy, because they're going to the malls and they're stealing clothes, or they're robbing CVS's, and like, and it's like no one is here to monitor these kids, because let's be honest, we're winging it ourselves. We're just winging it ourselves, because we didn't have dads to be like, this is how you shave, or this is how you drive, or this is how you protect your family. Because a lot of our men are in jail, or they're dead, or like they're deadbeats. Let's be real. Like, and it's crazy, because the men in our generation are we're trying to be men but we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out how to be men. We're trying to do the things that we wish our parents would have did for us. And let's be honest, like and it's like, because we're older, what we were doing before, our little brothers and sisters were watching us. They were watching us beat people up, or you know, like they see on TV. Like sometimes it is the TV, but it's the reality that we live in now. We got like I'm not gonna hide this, but like a couple years ago, I went to jail, and most of the people in jail with me are like 17 years old. Wow. Like they got 15, 16 years. Let's be real, like, because they're shooting people. Like, it's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're just trying to really figure this out, to be honest.
That is crazy. I'm realizing now, and now you guys say it, that you're right. I think OGB was with me a couple of summers ago when I got my first group of middle schoolers, and I've never worked with middle schoolers a day in my life, and they scare me because they're mean. They're just mean in that age group. Everybody's mean when they're just becoming a teenager.
Sure.
And I had a group of young boys, and we had a situation. Sweet young boy. I think his family was Ethiopian, but he was American. But you know, he was really cultural, so he was really sweet. His family trusted him as a man to handle his business and take care of his items. And the young man's phone went missing while we're on a retreat. We're on 8 days on like 20 acres of land. There's no way his phone can just get stolen when we're just gone like that. And we searched every day for this guy's phone. And there was a group, and I couldn't help myself just being real with all that was in front of me, that maybe my group of boys who were a little bit more street smart may have seen this as an opportunity, you know, and navigating that process with them was immediately scary, because you don't ever want to, come to someone and be like, look, I'm pressing immediate stereotypes against you. Either negate them or admit to them. And no one's going to respond to that, you know. But nowadays, you honestly attacked. And I think that's a mature sentiment, is to be able to feel attacked, you know, and to be able to navigate, manipulate your way through that situation. And I'm noticing that these young kids not only can evaluate their need level, they can evaluate the source in which that can suffice that need, that can bring that thing to them. And they don't ask. They don't know how to ask permission. You know, we do that thing. I did it when I was a kid. You know, I'd rather ask for forgiveness and ask for permission. But they really subscribe to singularly taking. There is no forgiveness. There is no permission. There is my way, you know, and I think that's survival based. This next question I want to ask you guys, and I want to keep going because we got like 45 minutes left and I want to honor our time. Do you guys actively trust the civil servants? And by civil servants, I mean, I think Babaherb brought this up earlier. I mean, by civil servants specifically, let's cue into this term, this phrase right now. We're talking mayors, we're talking deputy mayors, we're talking superintendents, we're talking police, we're talking chief of police, we're talking community program executives, directors. I'm talking anybody who claims that they are in a position of authority. Do you trust them to protect you or people like you in your community? And why? You know, feel free to negate that, to say no, feel free to say yes. But I just want to know why on either side. So I think let's start up here with OGB, and then I'm gonna like swoop around.
First off, I want to shout out everybody who's spoken so far. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's speaking on that real stuff.
Yeah.
I love hearing it. Honestly, no. I mean, you know, I'm expecting that across the board, but I don't trust the mayor. I don't trust the police. I mean, honest to God, I've watched so many people in my family be mistreated by like the legal system. You know what I'm saying? Be mistreated by like TSA. Like, we were just coming back from Savannah, Georgia, and my uncle, you know what I'm saying? He's 6'4", 6'5". Looks just like me, but he's like 40, you know what I'm saying? So he's a little bit older. TSA pressing him up. They're giving him the pat down, you know what I'm saying? And so I've seen that so many times in my life where it's like, okay, I know being the tall black person or being a black male, really just a black male, you know what I'm saying? Some days I know that being a black male, I'm going to have to do certain things. Yeah, we've spoken to that a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like being prepared for that. I know that as a black male, I have to move a certain way in the world or else my civil servants are going to turn on me. Like, and that is something that I think is unique to our experience. Like, I don't know too many people that have to do that. That have to be like, okay, I got to keep my hands in my pocket when I'm by a policeman. I got to keep my hands in my pockets when I'm by a politician, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got to keep my hands in my pockets at all times. You know, it feels like
On that note, OGB, can I ask you, because you spoke to it, I just want to challenge you to dig a little deeper, because you spoke to something really real. And I think we call it right now like code switching. Like, that's the phrase that we all attach to it. Like, that's when people of color go out of their way to present themselves in a different manner. I don't think it's only for people of color. I think all people of all ethnicities code switch in their own respective ways. It's survival, you know. I think monkeys do it in the jungle. I don't know, but who knows? But I want to challenge you. Like, what does that look like for you? And I think the best question I can ask that is, do you feel like you have to, you know, give up or, you know, sacrifice a part of yourself or nuances of your integrity to self in that tactic? Or do you feel intact in that, or does that not feel, you know, true to you? How does that feel?
So for me, I had two answers to that.
It was a big question. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's okay. I feel you, because like code switching is definitely a thing. You know what I'm saying? I think it was something I would do a lot more. I don't think I would ever do it in the artistic world, but strictly as like a teacher. Like when you're trying to impress a principal or you're trying to impress an administrator. You know what I'm saying? You're definitely gonna throw in words that you normally don't use. You know what I'm saying? That's how I learned transformative justice, honest to God. Like I heard the word thrown around in so many meetings around me. I was like, yo, how do I adopt that into my everyday vocabulary? You know what I'm saying? So I think it definitely happens. You know what I'm saying? I think you learn how to move with the least amount of trouble. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because I've learned personally that like when you ask questions or when you get more involved in what you want to do, you know, people have a tendency to remove those people from the room or remove those people from the conversation. You know what I'm saying? So for me, code switching looks like not necessarily my white man voice, but like definitely my white man mannerisms. Like I'm shaking your hand, I'm not dapping you up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm definitely looking at you in your eyes, making direct eye contact every time I'm saying something to you. You know what I'm saying? It's no bruhs, it's no uhs when I'm talking to a class. You know what I'm saying? I think that's more so of the code switching in terms of like language than with man.
Yes, sir. Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead, Grady. You ready? Go ahead.
Hey,
Please, brother.
bro, that was amazing. Like, cause that's on one side, right? Like, I love what you just said. But see, to a person like me, y'all call it code switching, but I call it survival.
Mm.
When I get pulled over, all that tough gangster stuff, I ain't gonna cuss, but it go out the window because it's an everlasting losing war when it comes to police officers. For me, I've been pulled over before and they've asked me, do I even have a license? They don't say license and registration. They say, do you even have a license?
Mm.
So in that moment, it's survival. It's not, to me, like I said, it's not code switching. It's like, yeah, I'm in a real life or death situation. Bro, before I even present my license or registration, I ask them, I say, is it okay if I reach in my left back pocket and get my wallet? Because I look how I look. You know what I mean? So it's survival to me. Like when I'm walking and I see a undercut, like it's survival at this point, bro, because they're doing things to us on camera, off camera, that are I don't even know the word for it, bro. It's just, they're horrific.
They're
I can say I
ridiculous.
can't breathe and they still won't
They're
get the knee off
unnatural.
my neck.
Mhm.
So at this point, bro, it's not code switching. To me, it's survival. But
I
in
feel
your
that.
world, I love it because I know what you mean. Jobs, yeah, it's code switching at that point. But I just want to touch on that, man. Like it's survival now everywhere, not even just in DC, like everywhere. Like but
So while you're going, Grady, let me ask you, like, do you feel like, and I think you kind of answered that in light, but like, do you, and even outside of the police, because being mindful that our civil servants, our government is so huge and we're the nation's capital, yo. There's so many people immediately on the ground who are supposed to be preventing
right,
all of this stuff. So
right.
like, do you feel like they target you, or do you feel like you can trust any of them? And like exactly why? Like, tell us.
Do I feel like they target us? Yes, because according to them, we're the problem. Do I trust them? Not at all. Because guess what? If a police officer right now pulls me over, imagine if I had a minivan
And we were
and
all
we're
in it,
all in the
yeah.
minivan and they pull all of us out and beat all the black guys up. Guess what? The mayor is represented by the police officers. Like they're all in one line of command chain. So if the police officers look bad, the mayor looks bad. They're on the same team. I don't trust neither one of them. That's why, like I said, y'all call it code switching. But if we get pulled over, I'm in
Survival.
survival mode. We just watched a man submit and still get killed in handcuffs on camera. We've watched so many different things. I don't want to play the race game, but we've watched this guy of a different color kill protesters. He didn't get killed. We watched a guy also get strangled to death with no weapon. So it's like, I'm in survival mode. Y'all just seen it. I have to get back to my kid.
Yes, honest. Being mindful of what you're facing against, you know.
Exactly. So just to make it really blatant, yeah, I don't care what type of command. When I bump into them people, I'm in survival mode. I'm going to play my part to get where I need to be. So that's just how I feel. And I'm just being a young black man in America, not even in DC. We're targeted until you get to a certain stature of life, a certain point in life. You know what I mean? So until then, I'm going to keep trying to survive.
I'll definitely want to piggyback on that.
Let's go. Yeah.
You know, coming from a place of privilege my whole life, you know what I mean? It's astounding the differences in how police treat people who look like me. And even when I'm with, like, I've been pulled over with my melanated brethren, stop and frisked, and they didn't even talk to me at all. They like went straight to my friend, you know, backpack, pockets, hands, like everything. And I'm standing, you know, and like, you know, I have weed on me. I'm not gonna lie, you know. So I'm trying to keep careful because I'm like, all right, if I go down, we probably both go down. But at the same time, I'm coming from a place of privilege. So like, how can I step into the situation? And I've been in that situation several times. I just went on a 48-hour road trip to California and back from here. And I was the only white person in the car. And that was something that we were very conscious of, like everywhere we're going. Because we went down to New Orleans to pick up one of our friends. And then, so we went through like literally the worst places you could possibly go through at this current political climate. You know, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, like all these places. We got pulled over in Louisiana, you know, and all of us were terrified. I wasn't the one driving. We even got pulled over. Thankfully, nothing happened. Thank God. We got there's border patrol stops in Texas, and we tried to avoid them because one of my friends in the car is from Nigeria. His citizenship is like still kind of shaky. So we literally had to pull over on the side of the road because all of us, our anxiety was so high. So I could quickly switch into the driver's seat. And all of us were so scared. And literally, we pulled up to the place. The dude looked in the car, and he was like, keep going.
Wow. Like,
it was that easy. And I've been on that same route. And my friend, he's from Guatemala. He was driving at that time. And they took us out the car. They had the dogs go through the car. Like, they did the whole 9 yards, like both of our IDs. So just seeing, like, my whole life seeing that drastic difference. And I think the first time I saw that type of difference, I was in like 4th grade, 3rd grade, you know, and seeing that blew my mind. And it honestly, like, still to this day, it breaks my heart, honestly. Because I'm like,
that's why we give all this stuff to you.
Right? I'm like, yo, like, what's going on? And at the same time, like, even going down south and spending like 5 years down south, it's the same. I mean, it's even worse, obviously, because that's where it all stem from. Like, but we think it all stays in the South, and we think, like, especially in police and all that, we think it's overt in the South, and it's so not.
Right.
It's so not.
Yeah.
So to answer the question real quick before Babaherb, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust the foster care system. I've had friends out here in DC who've been through the foster care system. I don't trust the courts at all. I don't trust anybody. So it's really, like you said, survival out here. Gotta figure out how to.
Definitely. I appreciate you for sharing that, Sam. Like, Baba, if you're ready to dive in, go ahead. Don't let me hold you.
Really just wanted to piggyback on that idea. Yeah, it's definitely survival out here. And because I don't want us to forget, or I don't want to forget, like, I mean, like Flavor Flav and Chuck D told me I can't trust it. And it's because the system is all aligned. Like Grady said, everybody has their own back. So if the police look bad, the mayor looks bad. You know, if the mayor looks bad, that means the council people are looking bad. If those people are looking like they aren't able to uphold those positions, then they won't get reelected. The money won't flow in the same way. The same developers won't get paid. And all of this is like a traditional white supremacy that started in the South with chattel slavery in America. We can't forget that. I mean, talk about like imprisoning brothers and sisters while we got all these feds, and then people getting locked up on Trump charges while a lot of big wild stuff is going down. But it's like prisoners are literal slaves in 2020 and beyond. Literally enslaved, working, um, performing labor and other tasks for the state and not getting compensated justly on some slavery shit. It's happening on some slavery type time. It's happening constantly right now, and that's like a business that's really fueling a lot of the economy and inspiring people like Mario Bowser to ramp up all these cops trying like pull people over as much as possible, trying to ticket people as much as possible, stop and first see what we can get. You know what I mean? Accumulate as much real live funds and shit from the city off some leeching through the government means. And then get mad at people for trying to get like welfare or like I don't know, unemployment insurance. It's like you're leeching from the people like in a macro sense, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, yeah, to answer the question, no, I can't trust anybody with a badge, anybody who Esquire, anybody on some, I don't know, anybody in the Senate building. I don't have a lot of confidence when I'm watching CNN or like ABC News. Somebody's trying to give like, we have like one of these commentators, man, trying to give the black perspective or trying to give the perspective of like low income neighborhoods and stuff to the masses. I don't trust any of it because it's all like, why aren't you here? Only person I trust is Trayon White. He the only man the only politician that spoke to me on some, hello,
He be
human.
in MGM with me.
Yo, he be in the gym?
MGM.
He's so real.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to speak to that because that man pulled up on my house, knocked on the door and said, yo, I'm running for councilman. What do you think this city needs?
Bro, with the blunt in the hand.
Bro, yeah, we was definitely gassed up. Yo, gassed up. And then
And he didn't
pulled
care.
up.
He was like,
Y'all
we still got stuff to do.
Y'all gonna make him lose. Y'all can't say that. He
Nah,
had a
nah.
cigarette.
Well, okay. Well, let me say
All right,
this.
well,
Let me say this because I think that's a cool thing. I think like
I want to celebrate that for
there
real.
should be more people. I feel like there should be more people like him. I think our congressional, our Senate, our city officials could use a little bit of diversity, true diversity. Even though people are different skin colors, does not mean that like they have different experiences in life. It does not mean they have anything different to bring to the table than the other person. I think they need to challenge themselves and find some people who are unconventional, you know, to speak for the true, you know, amount, you know, the demographic of our population. You know, we do have people, there's a large percent of our population. If you come to their house about some election stuff, you might see a blunt, you might see a bowl, you might see a bong, you might see, I don't know, someone tie-dyeing while their kid is playing in dirt. I don't know, a bunch of stuff. No matter what it might be, it should be okay because we're humans, you know. I'm gonna keep going on questions. Y'all are so dope. I love your minds. Like I love the different things you guys have to bring to this. In the chat, I am in the chat. For those who are watching, I have been minding your questions and things. We do have a small portion that's open for you guys to just go at it with our panelists. But you did ask a question that's on par with the question I'm about to ask. Your question was about parents. This question is, do the elders in your community contribute to conflict mediation or prevention in any way? If so, why? If not, what does that look like? Or why do you think that's so? You can go ahead, OGB, and pick it up.
So as a teacher, I see a lot more attempts for like teachers to like tell kids why they don't want to work with them. You know what I'm saying? And like when you hear about, because again, I'm somebody who's worked in like McKinley Tech, Stuart Hobson, Hart Middle School. So I've worked all over the city. And one thing that I've definitely noticed a lot more now is that like there's a lot more like gang beef, like street beef. You know what I'm saying? Like where kids bring that beef that their older brother, that their father, stepfather might have had, and they bringing it into the school. So let's say your son is from that block, and they go to that, and your son happens to go to school with my son. We from Roblin Hoods. That beef now shows up in the school. You know what I'm saying? The OGs are no longer saying, okay, we're going to come mediate this situation. They allow these fights to happen. You know, half of my time at McKinley Tech was trying to mediate and talk young men through some of these beefs. Because to me, I found it crazy that, again, these kids, it might be a new kid. I think the height of it was, I had a kid who had been at McKinley Tech for 2 weeks. And there were a couple boys from my club who were going to jump him. He knew that I ran the club. He came to me to mediate the situation. And again, these are boys that I have been talking to all year, trying to train them in nonviolence, trying to train them in community norms. And one of the biggest things that they were speaking to me about was, well, if we don't run him out, if we don't, run him out of school, if we don't drag him out of school, we're going to get run out of our own neighborhood. And so it's this cycle. I think you were speaking to this, Reek, this cycle of like misguidedness, like this cycle of like this cycle of rank and file that just doesn't make any sense to the people that are living through it, So that's all I want.
Straight up, I appreciate that answer, because you are like a teacher right now. Like you're in like your student aid, you're supporting, kids who are back in the school process. And hearing that dynamic is cool, because to a degree you're an elder to someone right now. And to a degree, all of you guys are elders. Reek, you have students. Babaherb, you have students. Oh my God, Grady got a whole kid. Like Sam, you have every kid on 2K, like looking up to Samwyse. Like I could do this too. So like you guys have, this cool ambassadorship that you've come into, right? And as we take responsibility for, that new coming of age, I don't know who spoke to, I think it was Reek who said this earlier. Like nobody taught us how to do this stuff, like no one's teaching us how to survive or how to be an authority or an adult in any kind of way. We're just winging it. We're all figuring it out. And I think for us, some of our elders are kind of going through the same thing, and as you guys like evaluate this question, I want to know, like, I want to see, like, what critiques do you guys have on the elders right now? Like, are they helping you? Like, do they intervene? And think elders, like, think of anyone in your community. Think of, if you have like someone in your family, like a sweet soul in your family. I have my mom and my uncle. They're my G's. Like they pull up all the time for whatever, whenever, or like, I don't know if anyone can spit that community. There's people like Mama Luna. There's Dwayne B and Droopy. These are elders in our community, and to a degree, there's an amount of accountability they should hold around holding us accountable so we can help the next group, So I want to take that time to kind of like pick that apart with you guys.
Well, it's definitely, I don't know how to describe it. It's all over the place. So, like, there's elders represented in all areas of like levels of help, from whatever the spectrum is of like, oh, hey man, I don't know what these young cats are on. I'm off, or I'm gonna be a part of their lives and try to inspire them every day. Like the whole gambit is there. But for me personally, in my work, as like an educator, I've noticed that there's a heavy emphasis on like trying to meet the young, like hold a high standard for young people to like live up to, which I think is good. And so specifically working at Anacostia High School, alongside different in the past year, alongside different teachers who are from the area, but we're also of like an older generation, the baby boomers, if I say. Um, we're also like just like having a high standard for youth, which was like dope to see, like that they believed the excellence was available, like graspable, but at another end, it was also like an outdated approach in like respecting young people's just like free thinking processes, right? And so I guess moving forward, I also want to shed light on like the Garemas and like the whole Georgia Ave, yo. So I work also up at Sankofa, which is littered with or populated heavily with dedicated elders who have been in the city for decades and aren't leaving and have opened up businesses to heal the minds and bodies and spirits of the people, quite literally. So like we have Haile and Sharikiana Garima who have a whole bookstore, and in this bookstore you have a lot of elders like Baba Aduno come through. Um, and all of these elders are educators and entrepreneurs and stuff who have a big stake in the community. So I say that they're doing a lot by just like being present, offering their businesses and offering their services.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to, but at the bottom line, I guess this is my bottom answer, is like there's too much of a disconnect between the generations. It's like it's difficult for older people to respect young people's opinion. It's way too difficult for that. It's way too difficult for like older people to have a genuine conversation with a person younger than them by a couple of decades. So when I say genuine conversation, I mean a conversation in where you're intuitively acknowledging I could learn something from this person, even though they're 11. You know what I mean? Why does that mean that I can't, at least when I'm speaking to them, not talk down? That essence is so clear when we're talking old to young. And then when we're talking young to old, it's like I have access to everything. I probably know more about the funk era than you do off of Google. So like the level of respect that I'll place on like people older is like already intuitively a little more or less. It's like the respect. So respect is the bottom line, I guess, or we gotta like build respect.
The reciprocity of it all, like giving it and getting it at the same time.
Between the generations, yeah.
Yeah, that's real. Yes, Babaherb. I'm so look, all of that. I'm mirroring it. Reek, go ahead, because I could talk. Y'all know I'll talk.
Yeah.
Y'all can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, honey.
Okay. Well, I mean, I didn't answer the last question about do we trust any of the authorities? And I'll answer both questions. To be honest, there's nothing to trust for them, to be honest, when it comes to them, because we're guilty before anything. Like, we're guilty before we're innocent. We're not innocent until proven guilty. We're guilty until proven innocent. So there's like, you can't, like, I mean, they teach us that respect, is earned and not given, but we don't even get a chance to earn it. Let's be real, like, and even with the adults, like our elders, like they don't respect us because they say we are lost cause, and we just we're all these bad negative things, to be honest. Like, there's
do you think they really say that, or do you think is that something that we do to ourselves? Like, because I know that, because I know that, and hear me for a second, because I know that I have done some things. I have been unreliable in my life. I have slept in. I have faked sick. I have done some shady stuff. I have gotten in people's faces. I could just be endlessly accountable with you guys and tell you that, like, Mom G, my mother specifically, had every right to be like, I don't respect what you're doing.
That's
like,
right. That's right, gangster.
And even though I'm big about my what I feel, y'all know me, my poetry and stuff. When I see something, I go out and get it. I'm a winner. I like to win. But some things I realize I can't win over. And that's where I become humble and I start to learn, concepts of wisdom. And I wonder is like, do we really think that, like, they don't understand or they don't respect us? Or is it that like we don't know how to communicate to them and they don't know how to communicate to us?
It's that there we go. That's the root of the problem. It's all communication.
And
You don't want to
that,
take the time to figure out how to talk to each other because you can't speak the same to everybody. You know, I can't talk to Jay-Z the same way I talk to Biggie. You know, it's like, you know, it's
yeah,
the fact that a lot of people feel like because they've lived on this earth so long that they already automatically know how to do whatever you're talking about. You can't tell them that they don't know you because they're like, well, I live with you in this house for 18 years. And I'm like, well, in these 18 years, like there's very little things that you know about me personally, like as far as secrets and stuff, because because if you did, you wouldn't be even triggering me like this for me to even get upset or heated or for me to talk to you like a dog. Like I recently, like probably like 3-4 years ago, got my mom to finally learn how to like not talk to me, but like how to communicate with me, you know,
Talk
how to
with you,
get the
yeah.
answer she wants, you know, because it's like a lot of people that are older feel like, oh, well, I've lived your life and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I'm the one living my life. When I make choices, you're not affected by my choice. Like it's my choice. This is my action. Like, so it's like, it's just a certain level of communication that the generations have to learn how to close that gap in the communication because we're new people. Like, let's be real, we're new people. Like, just like our parents, like we can't say that we know our 19-year-old parent. Like, if we talked to our parents when they were our age, we probably wouldn't even know how to talk to them neither. Like, so it's like it's a lot about like communication, I guess, like learning people. You got to learn what makes people tick, what buttons you can and can't push, what's sensitive to certain people, you know, because some people feel like death is a really sensitive topic to them, and some people are really open about the topic, you know. Like saying, like, you know, he gets in the driver's seat and they just wave him through. His friend from Guatemala gets in the passenger seat and they're like, hey, yeah, all y'all got to get out this car, you know. And you know, like Grady was saying, like they don't even ask him for they don't even ask for his driver's license. They just ask, does he have one? Like the car, like they can't look it up and see if the car's reported stolen or anything like that.
Like they immediately off-right you guys, or off-right us all. I mean, I get it different. Ageism bites me in the butt all the time, especially because I look so good for my age, okay? The old people in my industry hate me because I come, you know, big with how I like to get things done. I care for all the kids. I care for everybody there. And oftentimes it's like, sit down, little girl, and learn something. And I'm like, I've existed on more stages than you could ever have dreamed to like touch or like work with groups and travel and do these life experiences at my own age now. You know, it didn't take me 40 years to do that. It didn't take me 50 years to figure that one out. You know, it's taken me 50 years to figure out something else. And I would really like help with that, you know. Grady, did you want to add something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How I feel, it's no order. Like, especially in the neighborhoods. I'm not gonna call it the hood, I'm gonna say the neighborhoods. It's no order anymore. Meaning, like, we just touched on a topic where we said, you know, at the age of 12, 13, 11, we're growing up different. At the age of 11 to 13, you feel like you're a man. You not trying to hear what that old man has to say. He didn't help you when you didn't have anything. Guess what now, though? Like, and I'm not saying that this is right, but I'm just going to speak on the raw reality. Guess what? Now I'm 13 years old and I have a gun. So give a F about what he's talking about. Give a F about what she's talking about. If you ever had a gun, you get a certain type of power that you think you have. That's the scary part about having your first gun or just a gun in general. You feel like you're really in control, but really, this is what's in control, not that gun. You have to really weigh your situations and your decision making. That's what makes you a man. That's what makes you an adult. You could be 50 years old and still be childish. So no, I believe, and I only can speak on me, and what I see, the OGs, the older people, don't run anything because they're not out there anymore. they might be out there, but they're not putting in the work. They're not stepping. They're not doing anything of that nature. So no. And the younger ones are like, man, I'm out here every day. You can't tell me nothing. So how I feel is instead of going out there as an older person saying like, hey, you know, you should do this, you should do that. Bro, take him with you. Show him. Provide him with the resources to make his life better. You understand what I'm saying? If you see a kid out there hungry, instead of telling him, hey, I don't think it's right that you sell drugs, because he's going to look at you crazy. He's going to be like, bro, I'm starving. Say, hey, come ride with me. And in the midst of you feeding him and getting him something to eat, you tell him, hey, you know, it's another way to do this. You too bright to do this. So it's a way to go about it. So like bro said, communication is key, but also hands-on is key. So, you know, I'm gonna just stop right there because it's gonna go forever, but that's just how I feel. But older people that do nothing and just sit back and think that just because age runs it, no, because it's young people that have been like, bro, I've been doing this since. You can't tell me nothing. You have not helped me. You haven't. So DC people have a different edge, have a different type of chip on their shoulder, bro. And y'all all know that's why we are, and that's why we in this conversation now. Because DC people be like, bro, I'm from DC. I don't care where you're from. You could be from Chicago.
It's anything.
I'm
It's
from
whatever
DC.
you want.
Like, you saying that DC with confidence, like, bro, I'm from DC. I don't care where you're from.
I really don't.
Yeah, I'm finished. I get in and get out.
Nah, I'm right here, Grady, because you don't know. OGB knows this, and my G's knows this about me. I am a hothead in DC because I rep my nativeness very hard, and there is not anyone in the world that can disrespect me in my own home. I refuse. I don't know. I don't care if I look stupid. I don't care if I'm walking up to a terrorist. I'll do it. Like, I can't even control myself. I just peel out the car. The car hasn't even come to a full stop yet. And I'm already across the street in somebody's face telling him he has no business treating people that way, you know, and that's real. Being from DC is that. And I think we're the nation's capital. You know, we are the filter for everything that goes through the rest of the United States, you know. So
and we get a lot of miscredit. People be like, we're the nation's capital, so it's soft. And then it's like we have that chip. So it's like y'all saying the White House, the Capitol, but they really have no idea. So when they say like, oh, y'all from DC, the president lives there, and we're like, bro, you don't even know, like, you know,
they can't imagine what it's like to go through that. Yeah,
so I'm just leave it there. But that's just
honestly,
what I'm saying. Like,
this is going.
Yo, if I could real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. We got so much.
I just want you to know. I just want y'all to know because Sam's been waiting patiently while we've been talking. So, Babaherb, go ahead. But I'm gonna let Sam talk after you.
All right, wait. I was just gonna say, like, in terms of the elders and like the OGs. I mean, this is DC, but as an MC, he has like no OG in Charlotte. Put Me On is the name of a song, and so he's from Charlotte. But like that concept just like popped into my mind when Grady was talking about, you know what I mean, like young people out here getting it, and then you got people older than them telling them, nah, you're doing it wrong just because they're older than them. With not, it's like, yo, you just gonna give me some salmon. You're not even really even giving me no salmon for real, and you're not teaching me how to fish. So it's like, and then
what are we doing?
I don't even know how to pitch my tent either. Like, yo, so it's a lot of other aspects that are like just being left out, and it's like if the OGs, and also for me, like being from DC, it gives me like, even when I'm educating, like it gives me hella anxiety when I deal with young people who are like super stressed out about like a phantom hood beef. Like, I don't know, a hood beef that is so real and active in their life. And then I'm like feet away from it and are completely unaware of like what's going on. You know what I mean? All of this is happening at the same. It shows like what W.B. Du Bois recognized, you feel me, as the double consciousness. You know what I mean? In this experience as a Black person in America, but it shows the gambit of experience that lives within this city. with the chip on his shoulder. But I want to just see like the OGs who are aware of like the lineage and of like where these disputes come from, similar to how we talked about earlier. For me, it's a lot of this old DC, Chocolate City, murder capital. Before like the past like for 2 years, you know what I mean, where DC started to ramp up its violent activity. I would say like those heydays of like the birth of these beefs and whatnot are kind of mythic for somebody like me, 24. You feel me? 96 was my born year. So it's like these beefs have been going on since the 70s or the 80s.
Yeah, like their granddaddy then.
And
Like
I'm
those
like,
are like the granddaddies that are always on the streets at all times.
you know what I mean? Shermed out, but make all that. So I'm like, well, what's really the source? We need to identify these people and bring resources to them. And then with these resources, have them return to these blocks with people who just feel the need to perpetuate something. I remember I was in they could not tell me. No school that I've been at have the young people been able to tell me this is actually how I like really first started. It was like this is how it's been. And I was like, word. But like why? And then they just and I could see that there was like an understanding that they had, an understanding that I have, that there's no bricks to build this bridge. You hear me? Like without like the proper architects, and a proper architect are the people who went through this experience and are able to sit and then got out of it or just tapped out of the beef themselves. Or
They won because they're 95 years old and they're still kicking and they never left their hometown and they got retirement and social security. Like they're good, you know.
Like, you gotta ask the questions like, how are you still here? Like Jesse Jackson,
How'd you do
how you survive? Or if you really about what you about, how you survive all these years, you know what I mean? It's another Al Sharpton, fam. What do you want?
How'd you do it?
You know what I mean? Why are you?
Is that what perms do?
Why are you still here? It's like saying all of your contemporaries were assassinated for their revolutionary ideals, and you still here. Like that part. You feel me?
Honest.
I feel like that's where it's at right now. These OGs, but then again, I don't really know.
We don't know, right? But all we can do is think about it and explore the concepts, right? My G's in the corner, like I know. Because my G is like literally I don't want to say elephant and let that be like a bad thing, but elephants move in a form of matriarch packs where like
also it's like, man, if I'm out here putting in work and I don't know no work you put in or people can't vouch for you, bro, you can't tell me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So
straight up. And look, we can go there because my next question is kind of about
wait, y'all forgot Sam.
Oh, look at you, Grady. You held me accountable. Hold me accountable at all times.
I was literally just gonna come on to say y'all basically touched on the things that I was gonna touch on, but I also wanted to say with respect to the question, I remember reading it when you sent me the email and thinking about my own definition of elders in my community, because there's elders in my immediate community, like where I live, and then there's elders in the community that I choose to be a part of, like for example the spit that, you know what I mean, like you talked about Droopy and them. Like I looked up to them. They definitely helped formulate the way I think currently and the way I kind of operate within certain spaces, you know what I mean. The whole poetry scene, honestly, that whole community, and all of the elders there. So yeah, and you guys know, but I think nobody in the world really talks about this, but DC is very segregated. So elders in communities, especially like, but you live down the street, right?
Like Jesus.
Down the street to the Brooklyn Metro, whole different looking neighborhood. And so the elders between two blocks, whatever you want to call that, are completely different, you know? Like, honestly, like most of my neighbors are older. Like, rest in peace, Miss Dorothy. She helped that was my across the alley from me, you know. But that was like, I only know like 3 of my neighbors, and now they're passed away.
Mm.
It's like I don't really know anybody else now, so it's hard. It's hard when you say elders in the community, because I'm like, I want to know the people who live around me.
Yeah, that's honest. I asked that because of that very thing. You know, we see it on so many different levels. I'm sorry, Sam. Keep going.
No, that was it.
No, I was gonna say we see it on so many different levels, and you brought up Spit That, and I brought up Spit That originally, but that's why I created this question. I don't know if people are familiar with Spit That. It's a dope situation in DC. Yo, they've been going on for a while. They have been offering stages and performance opportunities, plug-in support for DMV artists for a while. Yo, they're a great group of people. And when I came into them, it was 2012. There was a woman, God rest her heart, Miss Sylvia, that angel. She reached out to me and she created a safe space where my mama didn't mind me being too far down Georgia Avenue hanging out after midnight. And she would just watch me, hang out with me and my friends, make sure I did my poetry, check in, build relationships. And when she saw me going through my struggles in poetry, she reached out, and there was a time I wasn't getting any features. You know, I've done all of the DCU Slam Team, all of that stuff. I've never been offered a feature. I've never been offered a platform to be an individual artist. People loved me behind the scenes. They loved me for the poems that got them the grants that provided the money for the kids. They didn't allow me, you know, to be out there. But this woman, she found me out of nowhere. She was like, yo, I just like to hear you write. Like, I just like to see you smile. I just like to see you have confidence in yourself. And she gave me an opportunity to meet other elders. And I don't know if you guys knew of this woman. Her name was Israelite. God bless her as well. You know, rest her soul. She was an elder that nobody she slept on so heavily. She was an elder to our elders, to Amin Drew Law. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Amin Drew Law, to Pages Matam, to G Yamazawa, Yaya Bay, Rashid Copeland. The list goes on and on, even Dwayne and Droopy, even though you could call her sister, you know, in that regard. But she was the one who would come in from out of town and remind them of where their heart should be, not where they are. Not where they could be, not where they are going, but where they should be. You're going too far off the path. And she even offered that to me. And I was blessed to have her do my hair one day before a show that she was honored all of us with her presence. She didn't ask us to pay her. She didn't ask for anything. She was just like, if this is what y'all want to do, honey, let's do it. And she spit so much game over me and my squad and let us know about ourselves. She told me that I was too cocky. I needed to humble myself and remind myself that I am not as great as I'm going to be. And I can't just accept my current greatness. And that was something that always stuck with me, and I never let it go. So when I
try to
asked
cut you off, you're the best poet I ever heard. I'm going back on mute. I'm just going back on mute. But I just
thanks, Grady.
I'm talking about, listen, in high school and school, I used to be like, that's my dog.
It's my homie, son. I was doing it for us, man. I had to, them teachers wouldn't listen to us for nothing. They'd be ready to suspend somebody, cut the boundary back on somebody. And I'd be like, okay, look, for 3 minutes, you're going to hear me. And I'm going to be in front of you and all your friends when I say it, you know?
Yeah. I used to clap until I realized that they were supposed to do this.
We can clap, snap, you know, we don't care. I don't care, you know, but that's the cool thing about our elders. My elders taught me that. They humbled me and my mentee and of like what appreciation is, what praise truly is, that people coming up to you after the gig and just saying, oh, you're good. You're going to hear that 50,000 times because that's what people do who came to see a show. Like, you're good. But you have to really tune into the ones who are like, I saw you when you lost your breath. And I watched you take that breath again. I'm so glad you took that breath again. That's the wisdom. Those are the people that you want to be listening. You want to continue to build with. You know, you want to remember that moment and make it mean something. You know, there's value in our lives. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
I just want to say, I just want to thank God and be grateful that we all had some type person in our life that was kind of, you know, because that us, whether we know it or not right now, because I don't directly work in the school system like most of y'all do, but we are those elders right now to a lot of people. And like,
right now,
working. I think I was talking to Aida and OGB about this. I started working with these like 11, 12-year-old kids in Baltimore who are rapping, and they're talking about the most outlandish shit. Their lives are crazy, like just how we're talking about earlier. So for me to then hear how talented they are, and just for me to like praise them, I saw this whole like air like of difference in this young man. Like he was like, he came in, straight face, straight trying to thug it out. He's talking about trying to talk about some gangster shit, and I'm like,
he's too cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, you're more talented than people my age. Like stuff like that, and I just see his whole spirit like pick up. And so yeah, like the direct work that we are able to do, even just through words, in the position we're at, is highly effective, man. It's highly effective. A lot of these kids, like even Reek was talking about, a lot of these kids, society, a lot of these black kids and brown kids, all of society is beating down on them and putting all these pressures on them and prejudice on them. And it's like, if you call something or someone something that they're not for so long, it's bound that they're going to turn out like that. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you expect? You know what I mean? You hold these expectations for people forever. And it's like, why? And then you're surprised that they turn into this.
You pushed them. You fed them the recipe for becoming that thing and telling them not to do it step by step.
Exactly. And like, I just want to leave on this. Like, the biggest thing someone said is that it's like unrelated, but it's related. If someone tells you not to think about an elephant, what's the first thing you think about?
Elephant.
An elephant in your head, like, So it's honestly in the language and the communication and how we can communicate. Because we're all in our 20s right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're the bridge, low key. We're the bridge between high school, middle school,
and the rest, right? Whatever, right? It's like after you get through like schooling, right? It's like before you decide whatever else you're gonna do. Like,
hey, I'm really 75.
I believe that. I feel like we're all old souls in a different way. And that's why I said, like, somebody said, like, age is just a number, but experience, you can't put an age on that. You can't tell someone you have to be this old in order to have gone through these things. Because someone can go through that in a day, but again, what it took you 10 years to go through. So that's a reality. Let me ask y'all these questions. We're over our time right now, but I want to get these questions out because y'all are awesome, and this has been really awesome. Shout out to the audience. Shout out to T Money. Shout out to Maji. Shout out to Deja. I'm so glad that y'all have been hanging out with us. Like, this is a really great conversation. Thank y'all for hanging. So y'all, this is my question on that note, because we've talked a lot about what the elders are doing, what the kids are doing. Now let's talk about us as a whole. What aren't we doing as a community? What do we neglect to do as individuals, as we take witness to these things, as we teach, as we live our lives, as we wake up and we build relationships? What do we forget to do or consciously say, no, I'm not going to do to prevent specifically violent crimes and I should say situations that create disruption in our community?
I think what we have to do as a community, and this is why I was a big proponent for being a part of this, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a big part of all community calls for action, all community organized activities, is because we have to tell the world what we want. You know what I'm saying? We have to show the world what we want, if that makes sense. And my example of that is like in music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think music has a really dope way of introducing new ideas, introducing powerful ideas in a way that makes it tangible for everybody with rhythm, with pitch and things of that nature. When I listen to the music of a lot of people, and I listen to the music of people, you know what I'm saying, that are on this call, you know what I'm saying? I know our messages are pushing a different narrative, right? They're pushing a different perspective. It's just the problem is that it's one pebble against an avalanche of negativity, an avalanche of yo, you should go shoot this. I mean, I was just gonna say really quickly. Nowadays, the songs tell you how to do everything now. Like get the gun, get the drugs, like literally verbatim. So
Yeah, straight up, they lack so much content. It just leaves so much space, so much gray area for anything else to go down. That's why I personally love you guys as artists, because like I've been listening. I put together you guys' little promo stuff, and I had to listen to all your tracks in order to do that, just to like see what y'all were hitting on, see what this audience could know about you. And you guys all had like, no matter how different you are as artists, you guys all have tracks that speak to your hearts. You guys all have bars that speak to your hearts, like who you are, what your beliefs are about this world. Like Sam has a song, Evolve. Like, yo, that song, I think we play that thing all the time. Like evolve, like it'd be every day since I need to get my mind right. Like I need to evolve. Like I need to be better than what I was 10 minutes ago. So let me just evolve right quick, or like work towards that. Like y'all are also. So go ahead, Grady.
Yeah, I feel like what we're not doing, I feel like once one person wins, he or she is so quick to just separate and be like, oh, I'm not going back. I'm not like, oh no, I'm not going back to that. I'm moving myself as far away as possible because they know what we've been through. So if one of us makes it, we're like, oh, first things first is safety. So let me go. But it's like, okay, yeah, go. There's nothing wrong with that. But once we like come back and just provide other people that are going through things that we went through, or going through things currently that we went through, or even worse, with the resources, things will change. The reason why DC is so violent right now, and believe me, I know I can't touch into everything that I want to, is because the lack of whatever, but it's the lack. The key word is lack.
Lack, yeah.
If it's resources, if it's money, if it's food, if it's clothes, it's the lack. That's why I was so excited or geeked to do this, because I live a different lifestyle than everybody in here. Not trying to judge, but
Being
it's the
mindful
lack of
and real. Yeah.
it's the lack of anything. So the one thing that I think can change it, and I know I'm not, God or anything of that nature, but if we just help provide different type of resources, it will go down. I'm not saying it won't stop, because it will never stop. I mean, that's just unheard of. But if we just provide certain people with certain resources and certain things, it'll slow down. If you feed that starving kid, if you clothe that kid with one outfit and he's getting teased at school because he wears what he wore on Monday all week, or the same jeans on Monday on Wednesday, because that was me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you help him, if you help clothe him, if you help clothe or do whatever someone lacks, they will have no need to take. When you're fulfilled, I don't know if y'all ever been to the point like where y'all have been fulfilled, y'all reach a happy point, and you don't have that certain type of aggression to the point where you're like, okay, I don't have this, so I have to take. If you have what you need, you're fine. Then you start trying to help others, because once you have what you need, at that point you become grateful. At that point you become helpful, because it's like, okay, well, I have 3 bottles of water. He's thirsty. Hey, bro, here, take one. I have 2 left. I'm fine. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's a cycle. Instead of being in that cycle like crabs in a bucket, if I make it, I can reach my hand down and grab one of them, Sam,
And grab
and I
another.
pull Sam up. Sam could pull OG up, and then it's like that.
Out,
so
yeah.
that's just my take. Because anything else, I don't know. But it's just a lack in DC. That's why we are what we are. And that's what made me start doing everything. And that's what made me start, because I started getting teased in high school.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know you were teased, son. Like, honestly, you existed in a whole different group of people in high school than I. And like back in middle school, we were really like close. Like you had, I think you dated a homie of mine who was like back in my elementary. So we had just been around. Like you were like family.
Exactly.
So it was like, it's crazy to me hearing that.
Yeah. So like me being, you know, kind of popular or popular, whatever you call it in middle school. I was popular in high school as well, but I had to adapt. The things that worked in middle school don't work in high school. In middle, like in like 8th grade, that's when I first noticed. 7th grade, nobody really cared about your outfits.
Yeah, no.
8th grade, when I was wearing like the jeans on Monday, and I'm like, bro, like these, like, you know, like I gotta put these back on Wednesday, Thursday. Like certain kids is coming to school and they are that every day, or you know, like, and you trying to keep up, but people are starting to notice you, like bro, you're not it. That's when it starts to become a problem. You know what I mean? Like that's 8th grade was prime for me. By 9th grade, I couldn't take it anymore. Like it was to a point where I was like so frustrated at my family members. Like I didn't have parents. Like my father was sentenced to 20 years in prison when I was 2. I've never seen him physically. Me and my mother we're very close now, but that's another story. But my grandparents raised me. Every song, if y'all ever hear, I say grandma because she is and is why who I am today. But okay,
yeah, all
but
shouts
more
to
to-
grandma. All shouts to
exactly.
grandma.
More so, I'm just trying, you know, speed it along. But it's just like at a certain age, that's why I named that. You start realizing certain things, and you start realizing when y'all are struggling. Like, bro, 9th, 10th grade, like our water was off 3 to 6 months. 3 months, no hot water. Another 3 months, no water at all. Like, bro, I'm taking bottles of water, filling up a pot, and warming it up in a big pot,
I remember.
and taking a wash up.
Yes.
Or I'm going to a neighbor's house and I'm lying like, hey, listen, our hot water heater is not working. Can I take a shower? You know, but you can't do that 7 days of the week. Like, so you know what I'm
that's
saying?
right.
You gotta portion.
It's like I gotta figure out how to surviving. Like I think that's the theme of it. Is like how long have we forced people to survive instead and looked at them from wherever we are? Like I'm gonna just hold on to mine and I'm gonna leave you in your struggle.
So the reason why I say again why I really wanted you to bring me into it, because I know I would have a different outbreak, but kind of the same resolution as everybody. If y'all ever think, and I'm talking to everybody, grown, old, it doesn't matter. If you ever lost someone, been through anything, been upset, it was because of lack of something. Like you've been in a relationship, someone cheated on you, it was because of lack of communication, lack of something. You know what I mean? Your struggle was a lack of something. So I'm about to just end it with this because I've been talking a lot. But just to change DC, provide better resources for everyone. See what a person needs. Actually take the time to talk to someone. Like bro said, the mayor knocked on his door and was like, hey, yeah, what can I do to make it better? That type of stuff matters, hands on. So that's my take on it. But that's what changed my life, was the lack of this. And I wanted that. So I had to do whatever by any means to go get that. So, you know, again, God bless you all. So
I love you, Grady. I appreciate you for being here with us. Yeah, let me hit up Babaherb. Babaherb, did you want to add something? I see Reek still has his hand up.
I mean, it's like, what are we not doing? I guess there's many things that could be done. One place in my mind goes just kind of just to back up Grady was talking about in terms of the just like lack of opportunity and awareness of the jewels that are present in DC. A lot of people don't. Is that information? It's like we forget there's all these grants. You know what I mean, for artists and like different things, different opportunities that live out here in DC. That people just don't get hip to, and like other services and whatnot. Compounded by the fact of like the police budget increasing by like 100 million M's this year in DC, like just alone, all of the stats, you know what I mean? You go on the MPDC website, you know what I mean? You get that. It just shows how much money we spent elsewhere outside of like building young people's minds or exposing people to different ways of life. And like making things accessible. There's no hospital east of the river. There's no college east of the river. Like I said, there ain't no yes or like I mean, yesterday, moms, glut. You feel me? There's no like natural eatery. There's no like Blue Nile. So there's no like place you can go there and get your herbs or like things that are really gonna help your life. And so I guess like things that we're not doing, I guess is like I mean, I don't want to just be like blaming the government. I'm just trying to shed light on the fact that there are funds that the city has. The city is in charge of governing the lives that live in the city with those funds, because those are our funds. Those are our taxes that are going to these feds' pockets. So that's one area of focus I feel like we can like just put more pressure on. But and then also as a community, just like, I don't know, man, give people jobs, try to create things together, thinking outside of jobs, try to create projects and sustainable ways of living that like inspire the people around you. Like, hey man, let's go in on this business type energy, on this storefront type energy. Like if we have, you know what I mean, OGs in the community ready to put people in positions to buy black blocks. Yeah, just big dream thinking or dream big thinking. What can we do? Yeah, I'll rap forever. But yeah, the bottom line, I do want to just echo like the need for like satisfying this lack of like governance, you know. Bringing it back to the topic, gun violence and violent crime is like, it's gonna happen when the people in charge are pushing people towards outskirts and are leaving them alone to make their own decision. And it's capitalism. It's gonna be, I mean, you gotta get filthy with it at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when that's what the energy is pressing, it's like we just gotta make a change. And I think that starts with like cooperative economics, working. I can't. I mean, I don't want to just like be on this black capitalist shit stuff.
I mean, you know, that's your prerogative.
It's like I'm talking real tangible solutions, fam. Like, what can we do to drastically change the lives of
like from your
people
perspective?
That's like something that could happen. You feel me? We could also, you know what I mean? Just like go wild and like go out in the streets and do crazy shit. But like, I don't think that really serves anybody but the people trying to keep us on outskirts. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to build this socialist like reality. However, I don't know. I think like something tangible that we could do is just give people jobs, give people opportunities to build their own job, you know what I mean, their own business, their own sources of income and wealth, you know what I mean, within the community. Is how can we focus on that as possible.
Straight up.
I agree. I just feel like the job should be paying what people want to do them. You know
The job should be respectful. Yeah, they should. When you pay someone, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Grady, but that means that's a big thing to me because I love artists in DC. I love you guys as artists in DC. I wish there were more opportunities for you guys in DC. The reason why I've noticed is that nobody wants to pay you what you're worth, and everybody knows your value. The promoter knows, the security knows, everybody knows, the audience knows, even the bartenders know. The bartenders get excited when you show up because when you do the show, there are people going to get a little excited. They're going to get turned. Everybody's watching you guys on so many levels. If you contribute a small idea, if you change the way something's branded, anything you guys contribute is so valuable. It's more than a $350 check for the day. You know, it's equivalent as Black men, as you guys decide, as I'm sorry, not just Black men, but men, and I always adopt fam into like the Black men category, but you know, as men that support Black men and are supportive of the Black experience here in DC and in America, you know, you guys could easily change the new generation. Anything you do, anything that they put money behind. So if Babaherb decides to only walk around with a whole 4-leaf clover on his head, and like that's his steez, and like the contract says like the clover gets changed with every music video, and we're gonna release clovers to everybody and all this kind of stuff. Whatever the heck he got signed for, that's all that they're asking him to do. They're not asking him to be creative. They're not asking him to contribute anything else. They don't want anything. They already know what he's valued. They priced him. They know what they want, and they get ready to give him a bonus for a small percentage of that. That's my issue with it. It's the smallest bit, and it's never honest. And the reality is there is no respect for what you guys have done with your experiences as you mold them into art. It's ridiculous. But they don't. These people these ARs, these reps, these CEOs, they don't have a single idea how to do what you guys do. Most of them would probably pee themselves behind a mic, honestly. Like, I'm not even speaking in hyperbole. They would probably be such a nervous wreck stepping onto a lit stage, a lit mic in front of a camera with females in front of them. They'd probably have aneurysms. So they just back off and they treat you like crap because you do something that they can't figure out. So I'm sorry, I can rant on y'all. I'm gonna keep going. We're 30 minutes over, and I have one question that's really important, and one question that I would just love for you guys to be able to share with your audiences. We've talked a lot about losing people, holding people accountable, things that we've seen, experiences. How in all of this? How? I'm sorry, Reek, you didn't contribute, and I meant to get to you. I just saw your hand right here.
You're fine.
I'm terrible. But,
never good.
I can hold myself accountable to my moments. 5 seconds ago, I was terrible. But I want to know how in all of this, how in acknowledging that our civil servants don't care and we can't trust them, how in acknowledging parenting, how in acknowledging community activism, community work, and who we are at the root of ourselves, our personal principles. How do we honor the lives of the people we've lost from all of this? Because we've lost an endless amount of people. Is there a way that we can do their lives justice? A lot of them, their lives got cut short. I came to a realization this past year. I've outlived my eldest sister on my father's side by 2 years. That's not something I ever thought I'd do with my oldest sister. I thought we'd have more time for memories and building and things. And I didn't even really get a chance to know her as good as I wanted to, but you spend life thinking, oh, I'll have time. There'll be time. We have a whole life to live, all these things. And really, we don't have control over that. So when that life is gone, but that life still lived. She lived 23 great years where she was the first in her mother's family to graduate from college. She was an accounting major. She was helping with the prison pipeline, the school to prison pipeline in Maryland. How do we honor, the lives of those that we've lost in what we're doing?
That's honestly like one of the hardest questions to like answer, because like I said in the beginning, like that's one of the things I'm like trying to figure out. But the first step in that is realizing that they wanted us to be able to really smile, like our real smile, not the I have to take a picture with my family smile. I'm talking about the real smile, like, when you're doing something that you love. And, there's a lot of hurt in our community that we ain't even healed from. Like, I'm talking about from a kid, like a lot of us are traumatized. Like, we can hear a firecracker and in our head we think, oh shit, they letting off. Like, and like that's the first step to like really honoring the memory of these people that we lost. Like I said, I say 13. I've actually been 14 now because my friend just overdosed a couple days ago.
Wow.
So I mean, these are people that supported me through dancing. Like just it's crazy because it's like it's a hurt that none of us can really heal from. Like my girl says this all the time. She says we have to learn a new normal, and I've yet to learn my new normal. And us doing platforms like this is honoring those memories because we can bring a real solution to our community as a whole to give them a real opportunity, like Grady was saying, instead of like being hands-on, like, you know, and instead of just talking about it, we can actually do something about it because these people in our community, they look like us. They look like us. You know, they've seen us. They've seen me grow from, you know, in the world to the guy who dances, you know, like, because we have to show them that it is possible to get it out of here and really and like really smile. Like it's hard. Like how many people do we walk around every day and say that person looks really sad, you know, because we're not healing from this. So we have to honor them by at least trying to get our smiles back, to be honest, like trying our hardest. Like it's going to be so hard. It might take years of healing. I'm not saying you got to heal within a year, 2 years. It might take you 10 years to like really smile, you know, but it's like we got to keep going with the real passion that we have for our arts. Like, do not dilute your art for anybody. That's number one. 2, learn how to smile. 3, don't stop. Don't stop. Do not stop. Like just evolve what you're doing. You know, if rapping isn't your thing and you want to switch over to and just do spoken word, like find a way to smile and really get that energy out, because to be honest, like a lot of us, we don't know what we're doing, to be honest, because how do you honor somebody who's not here? Like I said, my little brother, like, you know, Cheese. You know Cheese. Like that was my first ever student. We were homeless together for years. Like, you know,
you and Cheese were inseparable. You guys made my heart warm the same way OG Council with Sam and Babaherb make my heart warm, watching brothers look out for each other. Like, did you eat today? Like, there are not many spaces where I see men check in with each other or like watch them get dressed and be like, oh son, you look good. You dripping today. Like, okay, swag. Like, you know, giving each other praises. And that's what I always loved about you and Cheese. It's like at the beginning of our shows, y'all would show up, y'all would take your time together. And at the end of our shows, y'all always left together. If anything happened, there was always like, y'all checked in on each other. Like that's true brotherhood, you know? So when you said that earlier, you know, it's real. You know, there are some people in this world where it's like, they didn't earn that. You know, I refuse to believe that they earned that or they did something to be malicious in a way, you know, that would end that way, because they weren't that person. And we know that, you know, and we've got to figure out a way to let the world see that, you know, about them, you know.
Exactly. And, you know, it's a lot to do with that because, you know, Tay really showed me that, like, I've been trying to figure out how to heal from this since July 2nd, you know, when it happened, you know, because I was literally supposed to see him that day. I was talking to him the night before. So, I mean, like, learning how to heal from this, like, I'm just realizing that it just takes a lot, you know, it takes a lot out of your soul because it's a part of you, you know, this person was a part of your life and now they're not. So that's a whole aspect of your life gone, and you can't replace it. To be honest, you'll never be able to replace it. But you have to learn how to live with it. You know, you're gonna have your moments where you break down, where some days is harder than others. But us doing platforms like this is one form of honoring them, and you know, us working together and really talking about it and hitting it, because a lot of people in our community, we're not talking about it. Like, it's because it's so normal. It's so normal. Like, it's normal to wake up and look on the news and see, oh, my friend's dead, you know?
That's crazy, but that's true.
And it's so normal that we don't talk about it because it's like breathing. Like, we're not going to talk about breathing every day, you know? But at the same time, we have to talk about it because we're holding it in and we're going to explode one day because of it just building up, and we can't talk about it because men, we're supposed to be these hard body iron knights, you know, we're the saviors, you know, we're the tough guys. But to be honest, no one's healing from it, you know. We're not talking about it because it's so sensitive. Like, this is my first time ever really talking about my little brother, you know. So even now, like, this is just one of the ways that I'm healing, because I couldn't talk about it before without even like breaking down or shedding a tear or anything, because I haven't healed from it for real. But this is helping me by hearing you guys' experiences. It's helping me because I've been dealing with death almost like every couple weeks, every 3-4 weeks. Like 14 people isn't a small amount of people to lose in a year, you know. And you know, it's like we need to come up with a solution to give these kids a real opportunity to really do something, because we're losing them. We're losing them, to be honest. We're losing them because their parents are kicking them out to the streets. These people are going to the streets and they're learning how to survive. And survival is the only thing on their mind. They're not living no more. They're just surviving, you know, and that's scary, because it's going to end up being that 13-year-old that OneGreatBastard, like, you know, he's teaching, and you know, just because that one day he's hungry, he goes to the store and steals, and now he has a record. But he was a really good kid, you feel me? Like, and it's just like we have to provide these opportunities now, because we're now the generation that has to throw the family reunions, the cookouts, the get-togethers. We're looked at as that now. Like, our parents are getting older, they can't help us, so we have to figure this out now, because not gonna lie, 10, 15 years from now, this is going to be a much bigger problem if we don't do anything, because like no one's doing anything. It's us. We're going through this. We're losing people. This is our hurt. This is our pain. They're not feeling what we're feeling, so we can't expect them to do anything about it. So, I mean, that's just like really my take on, you know, what we're really missing. We're missing healing. That's the first step. We're missing the biggest step, healing. We
you
can't
like straight up, Reek. Like I'm sitting here like echoing you 1,000 times, yo. Like I'm so proud of you for your willingness, your courage, you know, to come out and like share that with us, because there's an urgency, you know, and like sharing that experience. Like, that's your brother, you know, and you know him, and you know people like him, and I think that's what shocks me to the bone, is that like I know so many people like him, you know. I feel like to a degree I'm like him, you know. The way that I move through the city, like all my homies kind of move through life to some degree, you know, and it just pushes in me to like, you know, remind me to tell everybody to stay safe and tell everybody to do anything. But what else do you guys think? Thank you, Reek, again for sharing. I love you, and I hope that you feel comfort in this group indefinitely, like with these people that you have with you.
I also want to just thank you, bro, because that's it's mad vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage, I know, to hold space and to share that, you know. And also, bro, I also want to thank God for you being here right now, because the way DC treats homelessness and homeless people is crazy, bro. And you sharing that, definitely, you know, I'm grateful that we're able to be here right now, bro. Like together, like honestly, yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, that's
that.
Did you want to add on to that also, Sam? Like, what do you think we can do to honor people? You guys are also all artists, so keep that in mind. Like, as you're answering this question, like, what are ways we can do? Because I'm also an artist. Like, what can we do with all that we have in our toolbox? You know,
I think it's hard because it's seen as, and the solution is one single thing, and it's so many different parts together, you know. And in terms of honoring people, it's healing, like he said. Like it's difficult because you have your memorials, you have your vigils, you have your prayers, you know, and a lot of people find solace in that, and a lot of people just keep going through the stages of grief within those moments of memorial and stuff, because then it becomes it's normalized. You see on the side of the road, you see all the teddy bears, you see the, you know, in terms of healing, I think a major thing that I was thinking about that a lot of people overlook, underestimate all of this stuff is meditation, especially in school, and teaching young people early on how to deal with their own emotions, because I feel like that leads to violence that leads to people having a reactionary response where they just want to throw they don't care about their life. They just want to throw it. It's because they're not, they're always thinking about, like we talked about at the very beginning, what's about to happen. Who should expect to come at me? Like, it's just negativity surrounding everyone all the time. That you don't have that time to sit with yourself. And especially in school, where you're in school, I feel like a lot of the kids who are affected by this are in public school. So you're in school with like 3,000 kids, you know what I mean? Ayende and I were blessed to go to a smaller school. So it's like, we knew our teachers. Your teachers don't know you if you're in a class of 400 kids. So if you do one thing, you get suspended. That's putting you in a worse situation if you're in school, as opposed to in Colorado and California. There's certain schools that started doing meditation instead of detention. And then everybody did meditation for like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You don't even need to do it that long. But just that gets you more in tune with your emotions, especially as a young kid who know how to deal with emotions in the first place. You don't even know what you're dealing with. You're just going through emotions. So yeah, deeper healing at an early level. Because right now we're talking about, I mean, bro, you just shared so much trauma just this year that you got to unpack. And that's crazy, bro. Like, I can't even imagine if like 11-year-olds going through this right now, not with no guidance, no type of personal knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to survive. So we are the ones who can help bring about that healing, or help bring about that catalytic change. You know what I mean?
I love that, Sam. I challenge all of you guys as artists, be the voice for those who are voiceless. Continue to be that. You guys are amazing storytellers in your own respects. So I encourage you guys to continue on that wavelength and keep being that way. I don't know.
Headspace.
Go ahead.
Headspace is a meditation app. It's free.
Headspace.
And then if you want to continue on, I think it's $1. But
also, RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, shout out Wu-Tang Clan, wherever you are in the world, he dropped the hottest guided meditation. And like, it feels good to me to hear a melanated voice guide me through my piece, because he tells me, like, he has one that's called Kill the Noise, and it's like hip hop vibes in the background. And it's like, yeah, I feel you. Like, there's a lot of noise going on in my life right now. I got to kill the noise. I got to dead all that stuff around me. I got to, it's that concept of like, that masculine father, kind of, idea that's like, no, seriously, apply some discipline to your life, So check out RZA, RZA, if y'all aren't familiar. He has guided explorations, I believe they're called. They're really cool. Get hip, indulge, treat yourselves. I want to touch base with Tiana. T-Money, the soulstress. She's been rocking out with us, and you had your hand up. I wanted to get the panelists, and I don't want you to think I was being misogynistic. Girl, no. I love you.
First of all, I know what this is. I know what this is.
You got me. But please add, like.
Okay, so I'm going to come from an older perspective. My dad is 74. He was born in 46. He went to Eastern High School. And my dad right now is dealing with health complications and all of these other things amidst the coronavirus and all of that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, whatever. Everybody's going through it. Mm-hmm. Because of that, I've been able to hear his perspective a lot differently lately. So when I think about ways that we can, actually help not only ourselves heal, but I would just say, one, recognize the problem and recognize it as a problem. One of our problems as a community is patching up over things or putting a Band-Aid over it
Mm-hmm.
and acting like it never existed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to address the actual issue until we can blame it on someone else. And I hate that very much. I've always hated that about our community. And it's not even just about accountability. Accountability is fine. But nothing's going to get done, or nothing will actually go into like further change until we actually say, okay, these people have done this and they've gone and they've passed on from it. I recognize that happened. It may be a problem. It may not have been. It may have been natural causes. But whatever it is, we have to learn something from it. And if you decide that life was not a lesson, then maybe you're not exactly living it or perceiving it the way you should, you know. Sometimes you have to escape your mind and be the center, meaning it's not just us. We are each other.
It's
And
large.
as soon as we
Yes.
all understand that, things will be so much easier. I swear.
There's a
Things will
beautiful
be so much easier.
saying.
And the thing is, people are so scared to be a village now. They're so scared to be nosy now that, you know, it's called nosy. We don't mind each other's business no more. We so included in our own lives and so blown up in our zoom in on our own realities that we forget that we are a part of several.
That's T-Money, you're hitting all the nails on the head. T-Money just came for like the last little tinkering.
You know, when you talk to your elders and they tell you, man, like, I've lived my life, I wouldn't take anything back, but the only thing I would change is that I held back so much. And I held back because I cared. Sometimes you have to care enough to actually expose. Rip that Band-Aid off, you know, shake a little something up. Because if you don't address the drama, if you don't access the trauma, if you don't break that open, it's going to be stagnant. It won't move, and it will cause problems later on. And that's why I've been, like, me being not in the DC area anymore.
Miss you.
Because I was pushed out, girl. I miss you.
We need to, we'll get there.
Don't talk about that. But because so many, I'm going to go there. So many people in the South Side have been pushed out into the Oxon Hill, the Temple Hills, the Suitlands, the little borders of DC and Maryland. Like, it's ridiculous. And that has literally become the new South Side. And they don't know that the problem was because we got displaced. And there was gentrification. They shut down all of these elementary schools and middle schools and high schools that we no longer had access to. So we had to take ourselves to a whole nother place, learn a whole nother system. And so many people, one, were tossed out on the street, homeless and displaced. And some people actually had access to a grant or money or funding of some sort. And they were able to, by the grace of whoever they pray to, find somewhere to be.
Say that twice. Whoever.
So it's like, you know, you really have to be able to take the good with the bad. And we have to really recognize that as artists, our job is to reflect these times. It is nothing but that. If you cannot reflect these times, your purpose as an artist is not lacking, but it's definitely missing something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please say that again.
It's definitely missing something.
And
if you're talking about the same things you were talking about last year and the year before that and the year before that, that means you have not implemented change.
Say it for the young ones in the back.
See, you being nice. You should tell them, like, you don't belong if you haven't changed.
You don't belong. You
don't belong. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, bro, but you don't belong. Me being a father now, I give all glory to my daughter because I'm trying to be a better man than I was yesterday. Forget a month ago. Forget a week ago. Okay, baby, I gave you snacks yesterday. I'm trying to give you snacks and take you to the park today.
And then some.
Like, just something that simple. I'm being, but I'm being funny about it, but you're absolutely
right.
honest.
That's honest.
Yeah.
I'd like to challenge everybody because like that, I love how we're saying that is honoring the lives of those we've lost looks like living to our full capacity with all of our intentionality attached to us. And no moment do we let go of it. And I appreciate you for sharing that. I've had a few friends whose parents have been like going at grips with their mortality. And as much as it is about losing and grieving and beginning mourning and planning, there's this beautiful space to absorb your lessons and to make serious of them, take them to heart and carry them every day. So somebody asks you why you tie your shoe like that. You tell, because my mama told me to tie my shoe like this, because if I don't tie it like this, I'll fall down the steps and break my neck. And that's just one thing I don't want to deal with.
Right.
That's wisdom. That's not, anything over your life. I want to thank you guys all for coming. Maji, you had a question. Did we answer your question? Honoring our loved ones.
Maji.
No, there've been so many. I had so many questions. I tried to put them in the chat.
We kept going. That was my fault.
I'm really trying tonight to sit and listen and to hear what you all are saying so that I can better understand. Some things I've heard when I was your age and my friends and artists were your age, we had the same conversations exactly. And I think that's so interesting. And I think that's why we need to communicate across generations so that the next generation won't have to come back to these same conversations, but we can resolve some of the issues and move forward.
So, thank you, Maji. Thank you so much. I'm blessed. Look at God.
The realest elders.
It's a little black. You might not get everything you want, but you're going to get the gems. All right. I want to appreciate all of you guys for like hanging out with. I know we're almost an hour over our time. I appreciate your willingness, your time with me. I want to encourage you guys all, and I wanted to kind of share this information as you build as artists, also as you move through the DMV. Don't just let things happen around you. Don't become, a casualty of things happening around you without knowing. Challenge yourself, challenge people around you who know, reach out to those who have the wisdom. Let's learn to move in respect with each other just so we can continue to get to places of understanding. So I want to thank you guys all again. Shout out to all the panelists. Shout out to my G's, Solstice, all of our audience members.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Much love.
Much love.
I'm about to follow all y'all back when we get off this. Thank y'all. Thank you, Asha, again for the opportunity. Thank everybody. I appreciate y'all.
Always, y'all.
Y'all also be safe. Be safe.
Definitely. 100 times over.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Good night.
Good night. Appreciate you.
Love you.